Okay, uh, thank you for watching this video. Today we're going to brief discussion about a topic that comes up from time to time with regards to the manner in which email, means more specifically email campaigns, are handled through Sugar. So what we're looking at right now is we're looking at a quick diagram that essentially kind of gives us an overview of the manner in which an email campaign is executed by Sugar. As you can see, what we have going on the left-hand side here is we've got a Sugar user, and they would be connecting to their Sugar server in order to define the campaign, define the target list, define the actual content that needs to be delivered, which is usually an email template, and essentially set all the parameters for the delivery of the email campaign, or some other folks like to term it an email blast. Now, a number of questions tend to come up with relation to this, hence the reason why I wanted to take up this subject real quick. And one of the questions that I often hear folks ask about is what kind of guarantees or percentage rates can you tell me about with regards to the success rate of of Sugar and it being able to deliver those emails that I send out through the email blast or the email campaigns that I execute in Sugar. So the reason why I like to discuss this topic with this graphic is that it really helps us kind of bring home the point that is very relevant here, and that is that Sugar itself is not responsible for the delivery of the message that you intend to send out as part of your email campaign or email blast. So as you can see here in this particular graphic, we have a separation of tasks in that in this section here at the bottom we see the interactions that are occurring between you as a Sugar user and your Sugar server, which would fall into the category of the definition of the campaign, the target list, etc., which I mentioned earlier. But then Sugar is in turn relying on the communication with your mail server, which we see that reflected here in this section here, in order to actually get the emails into the inboxes of the intended recipients. So essentially what's happening is, as a Sugar user, you're defining your campaign, your target list, etc. Sugar in turn sends all that information out to your mail server up here. You may notice at the top I referenced something called an MTA, which is just an acronym for Mail Transfer Agent, which is another term that you will hear from time to time when you're talking about this particular subject. But anyway, so we got our Sugar server talking to our mail server, and that could be your Exchange server, Gmail, SendMail, any number of other technologies, and essentially telling that server, okay, here's a list of recipients that I want you to send an email message to, and here is the actual content of that email message. Now, your mail server will then take that message and make it be delivered to your intended recipient's email server via your standard communication across the internet. And in turn, that mail server will distribute it out to your different recipients. So we see here we have recipient 1, recipient 2 down here, and then over to the left we've got recipient 3. So back to our question with regards to success rates and things of that nature. It is a question that is impossible for a Sugar administrator to be able to answer for you unless they know something about this mail server here. And in turn, that mail server has some of those statistics that they can reference in order to generate that answer for you. Because as you can see, there's a clear delineation of responsibilities here, which once we get past on the other side of this red line here on the top, essentially Sugar doesn't really know what's happening with that email message. We have no way of guaranteeing that that email message will be delivered or will essentially make its way through this entire route here and find its way to the intended recipient's mail server, because that is a responsibility that is handled by this particular component here, which would be your mail server. And of course, you have other factors that can come into play, namely on the recipient end, you can have things like spam filters and things of that nature that could block communications between it and other mail servers that are intending to deliver messages to any one of the inboxes that are part of this particular mail server here. So there's a lot of other. So in the end, in summary here, this is kind of a general synopsis of how the mechanism works. But at the same time, it does kind of help us visualize the manner in which the email is delivered, and we can see the distinction where responsibilities fall with regards to the different parts that are necessary for an email campaign to be successful, or at least successful from the standpoint of delivering the message. And as we saw, and I pointed out earlier, this delineation of responsibilities really does factor into the ability to answer some of the common questions that come up with regards to how I can get some insight as to whether or not I'm hitting the specific hit rates and things of that nature as they pertain to my delivery of the messages themselves. Okay, so thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that you find it helpful. If there's any other questions that you're curious about that might be able to help you, feel free to add it in the comments and I'll give it some consideration. Thanks again.